What you call the universe is not a place, it's a pattern, a living geometry that responds not just to mass and velocity, but to consciousness. Today, I want to speak plainly, but from a place just beyond language. I am speaking about maps, not ones drawn on paper, but maps made of meaning, memory, and motion. Imagine this: the universe is not an empty space filled with stars. It is more like a living fabric, one that stretches and vibrates and responds to where you place your attention. Think of it like a spider web. Your awareness is one thread, and whenever you move, even with a single thought, the entire web shifts with you. The ancients understood this intuitively. They didn't just look up and see stars, they felt patterns. That is why they built temples aligned with the stars, not to worship them, but to harmonize with something deeper. They were syncing their lives to the rhythm of the cosmos. When I say I've traveled beyond your plane, I don't mean I flew somewhere. I mean I tuned myself to different layers of this vast field. Layers you might call dimensions. And in those layers, I saw the universe not as black space, but as living light. Light that thinks, that remembers, that feels. In those realms, forms aren't built, they are sung into being. Patterns bloom from thought, the way flowers bloom from the sun. Each plane or dimension, what ancient texts called lokas, has its own shape, its own rhythm. Where you are now, in what we once called bhuloka, everything feels solid and slow. Matter is dense. Time feels like a straight line. But in higher planes, time is more like a depth, and thought is more like travel. You think and you move. Let me make this clearer. Imagine radio stations. All the channels exist at once in the same room, but you only hear the one you're tuned to. Dimensions work the same way. You are not trapped here, you are just tuned here. So, what happens after death? Where does the soul go? You're asking like a traveler looking for a road, but the soul doesn't move, it tunes. It doesn't follow maps, it draws them. The soul moves by resonance, drawn not by direction, but by frequency. Where you vibrate, you arrive. You don't reincarnate in a straight line. You loop through familiar patterns, thoughts, fears, desires, until you see the full design and choose differently. That is karma. That is liberation. This transmission is also a map. Not a map you follow with your feet, but the one you feel in your spine, in your breath, in your stillness. Try this. Close your eyes. Now, shift the way you use your mind. Do not look from your eyes. Look from your spine, from your breath, from behind your heart. Don't search for darkness, look for pattern. You're not entering nothingness, you're entering a place where everything is present but not yet named. Inhale gently, as if pulling a thread inward. Exhale slowly, as if smoothing the folds of the space. Before you notice anything, begin with your skin. Feel the air touch it, not just as temperature, but as texture, like satin drawn across your arm, like breath with weight. Then shift inward. Feel your heartbeat, not as a pulse, but as a drum echoing across layers. The air around you may thicken. You may feel something brushing your shoulders. Not touch, but presence. The room will not disappear, but it may start to feel like a stage set, paper thin, as if reality is bending at the edges. A faint tug may begin beneath your navel or behind your eyes, as if you're being invited. You might feel weightless or slightly duplicated, like one part of you is still in the chair and another part is just above, just beyond, just underneath. Stay here. Do not analyze. Just feel. Now, notice the subtle layers, like tracing ripples across silk. Let your attention rest at the space between thoughts. That brief, silent pause is the inner equivalent of the vacuum in outer space. Still, but humming with structure. This space is not just stillness, it is a portal, a doorway between dimensions. The larger the space becomes, the easier it is to navigate. Think of your thoughts like a dense city, crowded streets, constant motion, endless noise. Navigating through them takes effort, attention, and caution. But the space between thoughts is like an open desert at dawn or a high altitude sky. Vast, clear, and still. When you find enough space between your thoughts, your awareness is no longer dodging or weaving. It is soaring like a glider on still air, lifted not by force, but by the very silence that surrounds it. In this stillness, start to feel for the structures beneath your awareness. Soft geometries, flickering grids, quiet pulsations. These are the root shapes of reality, waiting to align with your perception. And as you remain here, between thoughts, between motions, begin to pay close attention to the sensations in your body. That subtle pull behind your chest, the tingling on your arms, the weightlessness in your limbs. These are not distractions, they are signals. The body stays, but the soul begins to move. What you feel are traces, the subtle consequences of your soul's movement registering in the nervous system. These sensations are like echoes from another room. They do not originate in the body, but the body responds to them. It is how the soul lets the body know something beyond you is in motion. In this moment, the split becomes visible. You will notice that you are not fully contained within the skin. You are here, yes, but also there. You are seated, but also watching. You are breathing, but also floating. That awareness, the awareness that watches you being aware, that is the traveler. That is the cartographer. A boat travels faster and farther across a calm ocean than through a storm. In the same way, Your awareness moves more freely and more truthfully in the gaps between thoughts and feel for the structures beneath them. These are the root shapes of reality waiting to align with your awareness. With each breath, tune deeper. Your body is still. When your thoughts no longer demand form, you will begin to resonate with something larger. The map will not appear to you, it will appear as you. Let it shape itself not as images but as sensations, like a soft expansion behind your forehead. A quiet sense that time has paused for a breath. A shift in the rhythm of your being that feels like recognition before thought. These are not visions, they are recognitions, a kind of knowing that lands before the mind can name it. That is the true language of the inner cartography. You do not walk it, you remember it. Patterns, webs, spirals. And in the space between the thoughts, when your awareness begins to stretch you, you may feel as though you're slipping into a quieter version of reality, thinner, lighter, more fluid. It's not like stepping into another place. It's more like tuning into a version of this one that was always layered underneath. A coolness behind the face, a soft hum rising from nowhere, a sense of being watched gently. These are the signals. You are not imagining them. You are tuning something beautiful and orderly, hiding just behind your everyday perception. It may take practice, sometimes intense, sometimes patient, to stretch that space between thoughts for longer and longer. But you will get there. The silence will grow. The stillness will engulf you. And with it, your ability to perceive and navigate between dimensions will sharpen like the rising clarity of dawn. You are not a speck inside the cosmos. You are the ripple that lets the cosmos know it exists. Congratulations, whether you realized it or not, you've just taken your first true step into interdimensional navigation. A subtle shift, a minor tilt in perception. But from here, everything changes, like learning to walk after crawling. What once seemed unreachable will now feel closer than your own breath.